We will never give up. We will never concede. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. But go home and go home in peace. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. You do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
Hello, everybody, and how you doing? Welcome to a Thursday evening catch-up. We have Zudak in the house. We have Riddle in the house. I don't think Biden knows how to use Twitter. I don't think Biden probably even knew what it was until recently. Probably the first time he ever heard of Twitter was when Trump was tweeting. And, of course, he didn't like that, so he probably found out what Twitter was all about then. That's just my assumption. All right, so we do have a package on our way. Armed Archangel was kind enough to send us a package. We have not received it yet. It has arrived in Phoenix, but unfortunately it is not at our P.O. box yet. So we'll probably have an unboxing tomorrow, I would imagine. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it as a standalone video or if I'm going to do it live. Anonymous American. Did I say Armed Archangel? I get those confused a lot, and I do apologize for that. All right. Other than that, the day has been whatever the day is. We went to this new place to try to, a new place to eat. It was pretty good. Thank you, Riddle. I appreciate that. Other than that, I haven't done anything to fight that strike. I haven't even seen an email from YouTube deciding if the first appeal that I did has been approved or not. So I don't really hold out much hope for going back to the main channel before I go on this trip. And I'm really thinking about what I want to do with that channel. Maybe I just bring the evening catch-up over here from now on. And whatever happens here. And then do something different over there. Maybe I start doing more gear reviews. Maybe when I go shooting, I actually film it and edit it together. I don't know. I've been toying with the ideas. I haven't really decided one way or the other. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. I was going to play this because I haven't watched it yet. Apparently he gives advice on what not to do with your life. Probably, not be unvaccinated. He probably wants you to get vaccinated, I would imagine. We'll watch a little bit of this, and if it piques my interest, we'll keep on watching. But if not, we'll just move on.
CNN's little Brian Stelter is upset again, this time because people are thinking too much.
Four little words that are hurting America's pandemic response. What are they? Here, let Sean Hannity tell you. He loves these words.
Do your own research. Please do your own research.
There you go.
Do your own research. Do your own research. There's a ton of it right on, at the tip of your fingers on your own phone.
That
Maybe I
phrase,
should
do
be
your own
bringing that.
research, is popping up a lot in conversations about coronavirus and about COVID vaccines. Nicki Minaj used similar wording in that tweet this week, saying she was doing research. But this go-it-alone
Nicki
approach,
is
doing your
watching
own
Hannity.
research, it seems so innocent, but it can have serious consequences.
Yes, it can have consequences, like people finding out that the coronavirus came from the Wuhan lab where it was manufactured, or that the Hunter Biden laptop story is true, and that him and old Joe really do have shady dealings with the
All right, I like
Chinese,
this so
and that
far.
it wasn't Russian disinformation. But despite being consistently wrong about nearly everything, CNN's Brian Stelter wants you to believe him. I mean, I guess since his show is called Reliable Sources, he must be reliable. And speaking of drag queens, the Emmys were Sunday night, sort of the Oscars of
were
the
they?
television business, where they shower awards
Didn't
on
even know.
everybody. And now the most
Oh, my.
awarded black man in Emmys history is drag queen RuPaul for his drag queen competition show.
Yeah, the drag.
Yes, Hollywood gave him, of all people,
Unfortunately,
the most awards of any.
Unfortunately, I know a little bit about RuPaul's Drag Race. I have a daughter who is infatuated with it.
Any black man because he has popularized drag queens. The culture in America has degraded so much that Good Morning America on ABC has promoted child drag queens like the 12-year-old Desmond is Amazing, who came out to a thunderous applause led by the soulless Michael Strahan. The only thing the media loves to do more than promote drag queens is complain about white people. Here's MSNBC's Joy Reid.
If you've been watching the news for the past few days or on Twitter or TikTok, you're probably familiar with the name Gabby Petito.
I love
the
going to
22-year-old
TikTok for my
aspiring
news.
social media influencer who was reported missing.
Okay, I have no idea about this story. Apparently, this was a big-ass story that I totally missed. It didn't come up in my feed, and the first place I heard about it was Mule Team talking about it. The only reason why we're paying attention to it is because it's a pretty white lady. So I have no idea about anything to do with this story. Please let me know in the comments or in the chat if you guys know more about this, because I'm curious. So did they just get married, or I think they were engaged, right? Because I remember seeing something said fiance. And is it the girl who died or the guy who died? Because I remember we were eating the other day at a place and they had the news on and no sound. But the little thing down here had said that they had searched his house. The FBI got a warrant to search his house. I don't know.
After her fiance returned from their van life excursion without her.
Okay.
But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name: missing white woman syndrome.
There you go.
The term coined by the late and great Gwen Ifill to describe the media and public fascination with missing white women like Lacey Peterson or Natalie Holloway, while ignoring cases involving missing people of color.
It is ironic that her name is Joy when she's so angry all the time. But speaking of missing black people, statistics show that 75% of black fathers are missing from their children's homes. But now that this poor...
I don't like that argument. You go to that we're not paying attention to missing black people, and you deviate, you change the subject to black men don't stay with their families. That's not the same thing. It's at least, black on black violence when we're talking about gun crimes. That's the kind of the same thing. Like, that number should be included. But I mean, a father deciding not to have anything to do with their kids is a lot different than somebody in the black community going missing and nobody giving a shit.
Poor girl's body has been found. Many are complaining about that story, not because of the constant coverage saturating the airwaves and the internet 24/7 like an endless Dateline mystery, but because she only got that much attention, they say, because she's white. Apparently, there's a significant number of Native American women or indigenous women who go missing from their tribal lands. Or, in other words, Native American men are murdering them. Most of them, unfortunately, are found dead within a few weeks, having been killed by you-know-who, but you can't talk about certain crime statistics because when they involve BIPOC people, black, indigenous, or people of color, those facts and statistics are deemed racist. The media loves a good murder mystery and is obsessed with one or another for decades, from the JonBenet Ramsey case to Natalie Holloway to Lacey Peterson, but all that stopped during the Trump administration because the media didn't have time for anything else other than complaining about Donald Trump. These high-profile murder cases aren't about news. They're not even about an agenda directly. They're really about just keeping everybody distracted with mindless and meaningless drama. That way, people won't pay attention to things like the invasion at the border. But thankfully, we have Peter Doocy of Fox News, who is still allowed in the White House press corps.
Is somebody asking the foreign nationals who are walking into Del Rio, Texas, and setting up camps on this side of the border for proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test?
Well, first of all, I can readdress for you or re-talk you through what steps we take.
That is the policy for people who fly into the country. So if somebody walks into the country right across the river, does somebody ask them to see their vaccination card?
Well,
Come on, man.
Illegal aliens are exempt from the rules, just like celebrities. And at the Emmys on Sunday, the celebrities were exempt from the new mask mandates, which have been reintroduced in Los Angeles. But the poor
Surprising.
publicists and staff and paparazzi still had to wear theirs. Look at the poor slaves in the background, the staff, the paparazzi, even the publicists all had to wear their masks while the celebrity gods parade around on the red carpet without theirs because they know what's best. Same with the Met Gala. Everybody's heard about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's ridiculous
That's an hour-long
dress,
video,
but
Broken
if you look
Patriot?
carefully there too, you can notice that
That's
the
a
poor
long video.
staff, the slaves, they had to wear their masks, while the attendees, of course, did not. After San Francisco Mayor London Breed got busted violating her mask mandate, partying without a mask, she told critics to stop being the fun police. Seriously. Of course, you know that the pandemic that I'm concerned about is the liberal pandemic, and if you want to help spread the word and support my channel, order your Liberalism Find a Cure shirt
right.
from my...
That was interesting. Some parts of it I've heard before, some I haven't. I'm going to go ahead and click that link, Broken Patriot, and just cue it up. Let's see. No, it's only 1 minute. Gabby Petito's van. Watch closely. Okay. So this is where they found it. Yeah, or I found it in the video. Okay. He is dead in the van. He is very nervous. Sees another vehicle coming close and closes the door. Tries to figure out how to get rid of the body, not knowing if cops are even looking for her or not. Really? So the door is closed because he saw a vehicle or something? I'm guessing. Booking phone. Huh? Yeah, I don't know. Do we pay more attention to missing people when they're white? Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of news stories with missing people that are white girls. Okay. Should we report on other ones? Sure. Why not? Does it matter in the long scheme of things? Not really. As even Mark Dice pointed out, it's more of a distraction than anything. But yeah, go ahead and give some notice to other people of color. Not the one I shared. You know, our body was found about 100 feet away from that. Her flip-flops were on the ground. Yeah, I saw that part. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know anything about it until just the other day, and then I barely knew anything about it. So today, just now, I learned more about it than I knew. To be honest, it's just another distraction. MAYORKAS said the border is no less secure now than it was under Trump. This guy's delusional. Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, claimed this week that the border is no less secure than it was before Biden took office. During a hearing before the House Homeland Security Committee on Wednesday, Mayorkas was asked whether allegations made by former Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott against the Biden administration were true. Scott alleged in a letter to lawmakers that Biden's team was intentionally enabling illegal immigration, thereby producing a national security crisis. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Scott's assertion, Mayorkas told lawmakers. The border is no less secure than it was previously. Mayorkas also agreed to provide lawmakers with the number of suspected terrorists who had made it into the country via the southern border, but claimed he could not do so during the hearing because the information was classified. This is just the latest example of Mayorkas downplaying the severity of the immigration crisis. Earlier this week, Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas accused the secretary of trying to bull him about what is happening in Del Rio. We discussed a wide variety of things, but one of the things that I mentioned in particular, I was like, look at the migrant situation, absolutely chaotic and terrible. But what keeps me up at night is another 9/11 type of event, Gonzalez recalled telling Mayorkas during a recent meeting. Mayorkas allegedly replied, no, everything is under control. Sure, the crisis in Del Rio is clearly not under control, Gonzalez said, pointing to the makeshift migrant camp that officials have created The officials created that shit? Under a bridge in Del Rio where 4,000 migrants are currently now living. No, don't tell me everything is under control. It's not under control because, like, I know it's not under control. You can somebody, I guess bullshit, somebody else, but you can't bullshit me, he said. Okay. I didn't understand that was bullshit. What's up, Gerald? How you doing? Welcome. Feels so much safer. Let's get rid of the Patriot Act. Yeah. I feel so safe we should get rid of all the laws. Ooh. Nah, I think we could replace just about all the laws with one. Don't do anything to hurt anybody else's rights, life, or pursuit of happiness. As long as you do that, everything should be legal. It's just, I mean, in a perfect world, but that ain't ever going to happen. Biden's administration looks to send Haitian migrants to Gitmo. Wow. Was reportedly looking into setting a migrant detention facility at Guantanamo Bay as it struggles to get control of the immigration crisis. Department of Homeland Security posted an advertisement on September 17th saying it was looking for a private contractor to operate a migrant holding facility at the military prison, according to government records. The advertisement noted the facility would be able to hold up to 400 migrants during peak surges. That's not that many. And at least 10% of the personnel would need to speak Spanish and Haitian Creole. I did not know Haitians spoke a different language. And it's called Creole? A DHS spokesman has since denied that the agency plans to send migrants detained at the southern border to Guantanamo. Okay, so Department of Homeland Security denies this. The Migrant Operations Center in Guantanamo Bay has been used for decades to process migrants interdirected at sea for third country settlement, the spokesman said. The advertisement recently posted was just a typical routine first step in a contract renewal and unrelated to the southwest border, the spokesman added. However, it is possible the Biden administration's backed off its plan to expand Guantanamo Bay's migrant facility after facing pushback from leftists who slammed the advertisement as horrific. Regardless, it is clear the Biden administration is struggling to deal with the recent surge in migration. Nearly 4,000 Haitians are still being held underneath the bridge in Del Rio in squalid conditions and extreme heat because the nearby migrant detention facilities are full. Several immigration officials said the agency has taken to releasing thousands of Haitian migrants into the United States despite the administration's warning that immigrants who come to the border will be turned away. The migrants who are turned away or deported have become aggressive, according to multiple reports. They're becoming desperate, is what they're becoming. In at least 2 incidences this week, migrants assaulted federal law enforcement on the plane as they were being deported. As a result, the flights had to be canceled. Huh. Well, I heard yesterday that most of the people that were getting deported were single males and not children. I'm stuffing my guts. Are you eating dinner? Man. Yeah, I had 3 of those tacos over at this, I don't know, it looks like a VW bus, but they made a little shack. It's called the Hippie Shack, I think, like that. So they were pretty much street tacos. They were pretty good. In fact, I had the shredded beef ones. The wife had fried fish tacos. And I'll tell you what, I had a bite of that. And I don't like fish. And I love shredded beef. And her fish tacos were much better than my shredded beef tacos. Let's just put it that way. They were okay, but they not that much shredded beef. It was more beans and rice, like in a taco. Beans and rice in a taco. I didn't know. That was kind of weird. It's like they try to fill up with all the filler instead of the meat. Anyway, Mexico doesn't want the Haitians amassing on their side of the border either. A camp where more than 14,000 migrants have waited along the Texas border just days ago was dramatically smaller at dawn Thursday, while across the river in Mexico, Haitian migrants in a growing camp awoke, surrounded by security forces as helicopters thundered overhead. Holy shit. The numbers of migrants at the Texas camp had been reduced to 3,671 Valley Verde County Judge Lewis Owens said Thursday morning authorities over the past day or so had to be ramped up the efforts to remove migrants from the camp. The top elected official in the county where Del Rio is located. The United States and Mexico appear eager to end the increasing politicization humanitarian situation at the border, even as the U.S. expulsion of Haitians to their troubled homeland caused blowback for the administration of President Biden. The Biden administration's special envoy to Haiti, Daniel Foote, submitted a letter of resignation protesting the inhumane large-scale expulsions of Haitian migrants, U.S. officials said on Thursday. In Mexico, migrants who have camped in a park beside the river in Ciudad Jacuna, found state police trucks spaced every 30 feet or so between their tents at the water's edge. Still, after an anxious minutes of indecision, dozens of families opted to hustle into the river and cross at the point where there were only one one police vehicle, calculating it was better to take their chances with the U.S. authorities. The entrance to the park was blocked, and just outside, the National Guard troops and immigration agents waited along with 3 buses. A helicopter flew overhead. The camp usual early morning hum was silenced as migrants tried to decide what to do. Patterson, a 36-year-old from Haiti, appeared dazed. It's a difficult moment, she said, before beginning to cross the Rio Grande with her husband and their 4 children. The Mexican authorities' operation appeared designed to drive the migrants back across the river into Texas. A fence line and the line of state police vehicles funneled the migrants back to the crossing point where they had been using all week. The buses that had been waiting left empty. The majority of the camp's migrants remained. Bad things are going badly, said Macho Patton, carrying her 2-year-old son in her arms towards the river. Her husband carried bags of their belongings and had several pairs of sneakers dangling around his neck. The U.S. is deporting a lot to Haiti. Now I don't know if I can enter or leave, Patton said. We're talking to a lot of people and they are nervous, they are afraid, they are desperate, said Christopher Jenkofer of the humanitarian organization Doctors Without Borders, which is working in the Ciudad Jacuna camp. 2 women were crying because they didn't want to be deported to Guatemala. In recent weeks, Mexican authorities have been dropping off migrants from other countries at the Guatemalan border. On the U.S. side, the government has been accelerating efforts to clear the camp in recent days, releasing many migrants with notices to appear later before immigration authorities and fly hundreds of Haitians back to their countries. The camp held more than 14,000 people over the weekend. Yesterday, we had 54 of the biggest buses running, and then they had 12 more coming in, and then they had 60 passenger vans running, and 6 more coming in from El Paso. Holy crap. I don't know about the whole releasing them into the U.S., man. That's definitely not. They're not going to show up to those. Homeland Security Department has been busing Haitians from Del Rio, a town of 35,000, to El Paso, Laredo, and the Rio Grande Valley along the Texas border, and this week added flights to Tucson, Arizona. They are processed by the Border Patrol agents at those locations. Just outside the camp, a line of Border Patrol agents and Texas state troopers combined combed through the Trail Carrizio Cane Thursday morning, apparently looking for any migrants who were on the outskirts. Debris and garbage inside the camp were swept into neat piles. Okay. Meanwhile, Foote, who was appointed as U.S. envoy for Haiti only in July, wrote Secretary of State Anthony Blinken that he was stepping down immediately with deep disappointment and apologies to those seeking crucial changes. I will not be associated with the United States' inhumane, counterproductive decision to deport thousands of Haitian refugees and illegal immigrants to Haiti, a country where American officials are confined to secure compounds because of the dangers posed by armed gangs to daily life, he wrote. Our policy approach to Haiti remains deeply flawed, and my policy recommendations have been ignored and dismissed when not edited to project a narrative different from my own. The career diplomat was known to be deeply frustrated with what he considers a lack of urgency in Washington and a glacial pace on efforts to improve conditions in Haiti. At least one top official in Haiti cheered Foot's resignation as he accused the U.S. Border Patrol of violating rights of Haitian migrants. This is the first time we've seen the U.S. diplomat who has decided to go against the will of the U.S. government. Mathis Pierre, Haiti's election minister, told the Associated Press, "We salute that." He called on the U.S. government to improve its treatment of migrants and questioned why it seems so focused on deporting them. I don't know, maybe because we're full? That's what I've been asking since this started. They managed to leave there somehow. How did they get where they are and who paid for it? Well, it sounds like they got there on their own. I mean, they haven't been talking about how they've been busing them to the southern border. They're talking about how they're busing them off of the southern border and into other states and into other towns, and then telling them to appear in front of a immigration hearing, which we already know like 10% actually do that. So what's the answer to the immigration crisis? I don't know. Finish the wall, for one. You're going to have both sides finally agreeing on that. But the problem is, in my opinion, you have one side who is looking at this being their new voting bloc. They're losing a lot of people. I mean, luckily for them, they figured out a way to win last November, right? However that was, I have no idea. But they can't maybe get away with that forever. And you see how the black community is kind of turning against the Democrats right now with the whole mandatory shots. So, I don't know. I don't think the Democrats give a shit. They want to get as many people in here as possible and then give them all in citizenship. Would you think that people from Haiti would be showing up in boats along the Florida coast to be where they are? They probably would have flown in. I'm not too good on the geographicals. It is an island, though. Haiti is an island, correct? The island of Haiti. I believe I've heard that before. War zone. Minneapolis residents beg the governor to deploy the state patrol. 26 North Minneapolis residents are asking Governor Tim Walz to deploy state patrol or the National Guard, calling their district a war zone. The letter cited a child murdered, a man killed in a barber shop. Can't even fucking get your hair cut anymore without getting shot. A bus targeted for a shooting, a school teacher shot and killed in a drive-by shooting near elementary kids playing at recess, all within 1 week as reasons to send help. For over a year now, we have been left to twist in the winds of violence, with constant shots heard, constant carjackings, constant deaths, the letter said. This year to date, the city has seen 69 murders, including young children. Yet somehow things continue to get worse as the constant drumbeat of gunshots has now been replaced with the rumbling sounds of gunfire that is fully automatic. Maybe they're just force reset triggers. I mean, you can buy all the parts. If you didn't know that, it is 100% legal to own the parts. It is 100% illegal to put those parts into anything that could then turn it into a fully automatic, unless you have the right licensing or you've gone through the proper channels. I mean, legally, you can have a fully automatic if you have enough money. But a lot of people, as I said, you can buy the parts, and then doing something illegal isn't too hard after that. Since the killing of Floyd in Minneapolis, police's custody, the city has driven a spike in violent crimes and homicide statewide. A record 185 Minnesotans were murdered in 2020, an increase of 58% over 2019's level of 117 homicides. According to the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, violent crime increased in Minnesota in 2020 by 16%. Violent crime increased across the board. Arson rose 53.7%. And let's see, motor vehicle theft increased by nearly 20, the highest since 2005. At the same time, Minneapolis voters will decide whether to replace their police department with an office of public safety that may or may not have police. Yes, they're trying to defund the police. You got to love how they're defunding the police and all their shit's going up. The letter called on Walz to immediately send any and all available resources, whether the State Patrol or the National Guard, to help the Minneapolis Police Department, which currently has so few officers, it's violating the city charter, one lawsuit alleges. During the same time period, the mayor and the city council have failed to do anything to protect us and our children, the letter said. They have shown that they are either unwilling or unable to save us. Yeah, there's a thing called the Second Amendment. Go get yourself a gun, protect yourself. Asking somebody else to protect you for you so that you don't have to protect yourself. First of all, it just doesn't make much sense. If you're going to call 911 when somebody breaks into your house in the middle of the night, even in a good city, that's going to take a while before they get there. What are your plans? You just going to sit there and hide until the police show up? The Minneapolis Police Department is spread too thin to help. Right now, we are left to fend for ourselves. We are not one Minnesota when our children are left to be slaughtered. Walt's office has not yet responded to a request for comment. As a teacher and a loving parent, we ask you to intervene and save us from this death march that Minneapolis City Council and the mayor have placed on us. The letter said, we are begging that your humanity will reach deeply beyond the politics to lead us back to safety. Oh my God. Weak. Absolutely weak. I think it's kind of funny in some way. Some of them got out of Haiti after the earthquake and have been in Chile now, and now they're getting sent back to the hellhole they left. What does fully automatic versus automatic mean? Good evening. Well, I know I like the one that says fully semi-automatic. I think that's my favorite phrase of all time. Fully semi-automatic. It's right behind. I'd say my absolute favorite bullshit is that one is right behind. Fully semi-automatic is right behind the Glock click or the hammer click on a Glock in a TV show. I don't know. Some of you noticed it being gun people, right? But for me, I've always been like that with movies anyway, always picking out the mess ups that they do and like, no, that's not how that works. And then when I started getting into firearms more and I owned a few Glocks and I'd watch like Law and Order SVU or something and they all have Glocks. And sure enough, as soon as they unholster the weapon and point it, you hear that click of a hammer. No. Every time it makes me laugh. The whole clip thing is another pain in the ass. Drives me nuts. Clip. I guess that's one of those pick your battles, though. Rubio's legislation would let shareholders sue woke corporation. Let's see how long this is. 11 minutes? No. Senator Marco Rubio in Florida on Thursday introduced legislation that would force corporate boards and managers to prove that their far-left social ideologies benefit shareholders or else accept personal responsibility for harming their companies. The Mind Your Own Business Act, fucking love that name, would empower shareholders to sue corporate leaders for enacting social policies that violate their fiduciary duty. Their contractual obligation to keep corporations profitable and stable in the long run, according to the Rubio's press release. Under the law, corporate leaders would bear the burden of proof to show that their left-wing social policies serve their corporate interest and would make corporate directors and officers personally liable if they can't prove it. Rubio introduced the bill in the Senate in response to the growing threat from anti-American corporate leaders who feel no attachment to America's shareholders or the interest of the United States as a whole. Patriot Americans who love their country and the opportunity it provides should be able to fight back against growing tyranny of the woke elites running corporate America, he said. These corporate leaders instead serve global economic interest and abstract political ideologies like critical race theory and transgenderism. These are often nationless corporations that amass fortunes divorced from the fate of our great country while pushing social destructive far-left policies like boycotts and cancel crusades at home. In a Thursday interview with Marcia Bartiromo on Fox Business, Rubio said that woke corporations may invest or enact policies to please the Chinese Communist Party, but that these actions are not safe because China's economy does not rely on market forces. This is if the government decides that we want to collapse an industry, an American investment in China They can do it overnight, Rubio said. It will be a government action, a geopolitical chess move. As this continues, because we have a ruling class in America finance that is deeply invested in short-term profits from China and care nothing about its long-term implications on the country or our national security, he continued. Rubio hailed the bill as a private sector solution to left-wing oligarchy rather than the typical big government solutions to corporate tyranny that socialists and communists offer. The legislation does not grant the federal government more power to regulate business, but instead gives shareholders with significant holdings greater contractual control over their own investments and greater power to protect them in court. To prevent excessive litigation, the Mind Your Own Business Act would have limited scope. Shareholders could only sue corporate leaders for actions with primarily non-economic effects, such as actions in response to state law, like leaving Texas to protest pro-life policies or ceasing operations in Georgia due to election integrity law. Shareholders can also file lawsuits if companies boycott a class of persons or industry for reasons unrelated to business, or if they use public reasoning for an action that lies outside the company's economic purpose. Rubio's bill would prevent corporate leaders from using the company's public image or employee sentiment as a stand-in for their financial duty. I'm going to just say financial. If a company is going to make these decisions under pressure from either the woke culture or some employee uprising internally that is pushing them in this direction, then they should have to justify to a large shareholders why they've done it and why that's in the best interest of the company. The National Centers for Public Policy Research Free Enterprise Project endorsed the Mind Your Own Business Act. FEP Director Scott Shepard called it an important first step towards reining in the most aggressively politicized American corporation. I do find it funny that you have Coca-Cola telling their employees to be a little less white. That's so fucking offensive. I don't even black people saw that as offensive. Can you imagine that? Say that to any other race. I'm sorry. You should be a little bit less whatever you are. No, I'm good. I'm good, Bikes. I know you're making fun. You either have an automatic or semi-automatic, or select fire or semi-automatic, or automatic. M16A2 brought select fire to 3-round burst. It matters. Somatic. Yeah. Well, I know fully automatic and 3-round burst. I may or may not have looked into that at one time. My Remington 742 is a 308 deer hunting rifle and fully semi-automatic. I am working on, I haven't gotten any new parts because I've been saving up for this trip that I'm hopefully going to be going on. But I am trying to get the stuff together to make a AR-10, probably in a 308. I see 308 all the time in my local store. I haven't picked any up because I don't have a rifle for it yet, but I probably should start. It was a little expensive, though, to be honest. I do want to get a bolt action at some point, and I can't make my own bolt action, so I'm going to have to either buy that from a store or find somebody selling it local. A $1 trillion coin instead of more federal debt. This is not the first time I've heard about the $1 trillion coin. Can you imagine losing that if you made it? $1 trillion coin. And what is this coin going to be made up of? Because if you made it out of palladium, that thing would be as big as a building. What makes the coin worth any kind of value other than you stamped on it that it's worth $1 trillion? I'd rather have a palladium coin worth $1 trillion than a piece of aluminum that just says it's worth $1 trillion. Credit risk out of China and debt ceiling drama in Washington are driving precious metals market this week. Gold and silver attracted some significant safe haven buying as equity markets succumbed to the ceiling. The storyline being trumpeted in the financial media is that a government shutdown and a possible debt default loom in October unless the U.S. Senate comes to an agreement on raising the debt ceiling. There is some truth to those headlines and would certainly include unsustainable government debt among the top reason for investors to own physical precious metals. I think you should definitely have, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, take it or don't, but I would never dump all my savings into precious metals. When we were doing that, and I need to get back on doing that, but when we were doing that, we were doing 10%. 10% went into precious metals, and that was just a savings kind of thing. Long-term savings, or in case the economy collapsed. And I want to get back into doing that, but really, you need to have something that you can make money from, either a side hustle or your own business or owning some land that you rent out to companies. But I wouldn't put everything into gold and silver, although I do appreciate it for what it is. But having something where people are always going to need it, right, is a good first step. Let's get real. The odds of an actual default on the U.S. government bonds in 2021 are slim to none. Maybe. Like so many times, brinksmanship will almost certainly give way to compromise. The debt ceiling will be raised one way or another. Doesn't matter. You can keep raising it. Doesn't gonna. Eventually, the house of cards has to come down, in my opinion. When exactly will it come down? I don't know, but I'll tell you right now, when it does, in my opinion, that is going to be a horrific time to live in America. You think Venezuela was bad when their economy collapsed? When the United States economy collapses, get ready, because that's going to be kind of a world collapse. The Great Reset. Right now, we are witnessing its most political theater. Republicans are posturing to show how they are opposed to Democrats' spending agenda, or maybe, amnesty for all the illegal aliens they've been letting in. And Democrats are posturing to force Republicans to vote in favor of raising the debt ceiling. No, they're wanting the Republicans to allow a whole bunch of illegal immigrants to be citizens. The reality is that establishment Republicans approve most of the spending that is now being financed. Democratic leader Chuck Schumer could authorize the government to undertake additional borrowing through a procedural vote in the Senate at any time. Democrats have the votes to do it on their own. Left-leaning CNN acknowledged, yes, they do, but if you do that with the amnesty bill, there's some Democrats that won't go along with that. So that's why they can't get it through right now. But by doing so, they would be getting all the worst parts of raising or spending the debt ceiling with none of the benefits. By benefits, they mean political cover for vulnerable Democrats in the midterm election campaign. Meanwhile, CBS News is reporting the U.S. debt default could wipe out 6 million jobs and $15 trillion in wealth based on calculations by Moody's Analytics. Janet Yellen is warning of an economic catastrophe in the event that Congress fails to raise the government credit card limit. These alarmist warnings are misleading. Government bonds and the dollars in which they are denominated are claims on wealth, not wealth itself. In a sovereign debt collapse, purchasing power is transferred away from bondholders to the benefit of taxpayers who are no longer on the hook for paying interest and principal. Of course, a domino effect would hit financial markets and sectors of the economy sensitive to credit risk. The financial system would be forced to reorganize itself on sounder footing, a painful process which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing in the long run. No, I mean, the only way to save our economy is to get back onto the gold and silver standard. Unfortunately, the only way to do that is either you pay back all the debt that you've incurred, which, what is it now, like $30 trillion, which we could never do, or you default on all of it, have the Great Reset, and then when the Great Reset is done, just switch to gold and silver and never go back. The problem with that, though, is it'll be the same people running everything after the Great Reset, and they're going to still want to make money, whatever we're calling it at that point. Even if the Senate fails to act, the Treasury Department, the Federal Reserve, could invoke emergency measures on their own. Some unconventional options being discussed involve precious metals, though not in the sense of returning to sound money. One proposal would have the Treasury Department mint platinum coins with an arbitrary face value of $1 trillion. Yeah, a platinum coin is not going to be worth $1 trillion. These coins could then be deposited at the Federal Reserve, which would credit the government with the trillions of dollars it needs to pay its bills. Voila! No new debt. As wacky as the idea sounds, it was first floated by hard leftists during the Obama administration as a way to around political gridlock over the debt ceiling, and it is again being pushed as a possible last-ditch maneuver. Of course, individuals who hold platinum American Eagle coins, face value $100, wouldn't become instant trillionaires, but platinum and other hard assets could still move markedly higher in dollar terms based on inflationary fears of the Fed used its digital printing press to buy coins the US government declares are worth $1 trillion. Regardless of from what it takes, the Fed stands ready to print all the currency the government needs to pay its bills. Former Fed Chair Alan Greenspan had said that a default is essentially impossible under our monetary system, and the Titanic couldn't be sunk. Instead of fearing a formal U.S. default, investors should fear the inflationary consequences of averting it. A lot of new currency creation will be coming down the pike in the years ahead to keep the 28.8 trillion in growing national debt propped up while enabling politicians to continue running multi-trillion-dollar annual budget deficits. The greatest default risk of all is that of the Federal Reserve reneging on its obligation to maintain a stable currency. With no meaningful ground anymore in gold or other precious metals, there is nothing to stand in the way of a precipitous decline in the Federal Reserve note value, especially since a currency devaluation is more convenient for politicians than balancing the budget. $1 trillion coin. I'd still want to hold it. Yeah, I don't know what the point is. Well, the point is you can either make one coin for $1 trillion, or you can make $1 trillion out of $100 bills. Obviously, you could do it out of singles too, but they're not going to do that. The largest bill we have in the United States is a $100 bill. You've seen, I'm pretty sure, if you haven't, you should go check this out. But if you've never seen the difference of $1 million stacked in $100 bills on a pallet versus $1 billion of $100 bills stacked on a pallet versus $1 trillion of $100 bills stacked on a pallet, there's no way in hell the Federal Reserve can print that many $100 bills. So instead of doing that, they're going to make one coin, which is stupid because it's not even worth that. It's just face value, right? So let's say hypothetically, right? We have Ocean's 13, or I guess they probably already made that. Another Ocean's 11 movie, right? Where they go steal the $1 trillion coin. Where are you going to spend it? What are you going to do with it? You can't, it's not worth a damn thing. What did they say? It was going to be platinum? It ain't going to be even worth close to $1 trillion of value. Like, where do you even spend that? Do you put that in a vending machine? Dude, I got a quarter. It's like actually giving us any actual money. The last 2 boxes I got was $16.99 a box, but that was just before the sniffles came out. That's about what it was here, I guess. Right around $1 around. I've seen some of the 7.62x51, but not much good for hunting. We got a ton of that shit. Dude, they have it cases of 1,000 of the 7.62x51. Cases of thousands. And they did have a lot of 308 last time I went. At this point, it's probably good to get whatever you can get your hands on. Yeah, but I don't have a 308. After the sniffles, I haven't seen the hunting stuff. I missed out on by an hour last week in the shop. Got case. Okay. Yeah, it sucks when you miss out on the ammo. I wasn't smart enough to prepay for 2 boxes, and they got more. They'll call. Yeah. So what do you do? Like, I know you go hunting, but how much do you hunt during a year, do you think? How much does it take to feed your family? And I'm sure you have leftovers. I mean, you have to. Yeah. I think over the years, I've brought home 25 guns from them. That's cool. Yeah, you should definitely get some more ammo, dude, because even at $1 a round, that's a lot cheaper if you're able to get like a buck or something. That's a lot of food for $1. Although there's also the hunting license and all that too, I'm sure. Federal judge rules Florida's sanctuary city ban unconstitutional. Florida will appeal a federal judge injunction prohibiting the state from enforcing its 2-year-old sanctuary cities ban. U.S. Southern District of Florida Judge Beth Bloom Tuesday released a 110-page ruling declaring portions of 2019 Senate Bill 168 are unconstitutional and that the measure was adopted by state Republican-dominated legislator with discriminatory motives. Ooh. Bloom's ruling comes nearly 9 months after a 6-day trial concluded in January to hear challenges filed in July 2019 by a bevy of plaintiffs, including the Florida Immigration Coalition, Farm Worker Association of Florida, and City of South Miami. The opinion charts SB 126 advanced through the legislature amid an imminent threat narrative and cities influenced by conservative anti-immigration groups such as Floridians for Immigration Enforcement, who Bloom said developed the bill with sponsor Senator Joe Grutters of Sarasota, who also chairs the Florida Republican Party Committee. The totality of the relevant facts present significant evidence, both direct and circumstantial, of the legislator's discriminatory motives in acting SB 168, she wrote. The court finds that plaintiffs have proven by a preponderance of the evidence that SB 168 has discriminatory or disparate effects on racial and ethnic minorities, and those discriminatory effects were both foreseeable and known to the legislator at the time of SB 168's enactment. DeSantis' office said the state will appeal Bloom's ruling, calling her an Obama judge appointed in 2014 under former Democratic President Obama. We disagree with the ruling of the Obama judge and expect to win on appeal, DeSantis said. Grutters told Miami Herald and Tampa Bay Times that Bloom was misled into issuing an opinion not based on facts. The bill was always about public safety and ensuring that illegal aliens are not treated better than Americans when it comes to the judicial system, he said. I look forward to this ruling being overturned. Well, for me, I would just rather them get deported. If you're here illegal, get the fuck out. You know? That should be the first thing that you do. Oh, I'm sorry, you're illegal? Okay, well, come on over here. There's a special line for illegals. Right next to that bus. That's the good thing about the shop. They'll do that, but they know me up at the trading post, so that does help. I think over the okay, cool. At the 308 with target shooting and hunting, about 6 boxes. If I have it in my 308 and my wife's, you sight in your rifles every year. Just make sure, or do you do it by the ammunition? 'Cause I know, like, some big time hunters that I know of, they have specific firearms for hunting specific game, obviously. And then they have certain rounds that they have sighted in their weapons with, and that's the only round they will use. And if they have to use something else, then they have to sight in their rifle for the new round, because just the difference in powder alone will make you a little bit off center sometimes, depending on how accurate your firearm is. That stuff's always interesting. FDA official says blow dart African Americans with sniffle shots. What? This is on YouTube, so hopefully.
Power, Deception, Propaganda. A new book by James O'Keefe. Pre-order
Is this
now.
the Veritas thing? This is. Cool, I need to watch the second one. Project Veritas released the second video of its sniffle shot investigation series today, exposing the FDA economist Taylor Lee, who was recorded calling for forced sniffle shots and a registry for all the people that haven't gotten it in America. Lee said that the U.S. government policy could eliminate Nazi Germany when it comes to the sniffle shot. Emulate. Lee said that the U.S. government policy could emulate Nazi Germany when it comes to the COVID vaccine. I'm just going to be careful where I say it, I think. Census goes door to door if you don't respond. Census goers door to door if you don't respond. So we have the infrastructure to do it. Forced COVID vaccinations. I mean, it'll cost a ton of money. But I think at that point, I think there needs to be a registry of people who aren't vaccinated, although that's sounding very much like Nazi Germany, Lee said. Nazi Germany, I mean, like, think about it, like the Jewish star for unvaccinated Americans, he said. So if you put every anti-vaxxer like sheep into like Texas and you close off Texas from the rest of the world and you go, okay, you be you in Texas until we deal with the pandemic. Lee said that due to the large population of the African American community being hesitant to take the shot, the solution would be to blow dart them. I think of that a lot of the time. So there also this issue. I remember reading about how with COVID vaccine trials, they were having issue recruiting African American people. It was because of a different medication the government tried to do that was specifically designed to kill African Americans. Oh, so like a mistrust thing? Yeah. But this COVID vaccine is safe though. We know that now, but like again, I think there is still this big mistrust and like it's deeply rooted. Yeah. Can't blame them. I can't, but at the same time, like blow dart, that's where we're going. Dude's gonna be in the bushes. Lee affirmed that wealthy white people are more likely to get the COVID vaccine because they are educated, and added that he would be willing to force COVID vaccines upon Americans himself if needed. I'm going to go door to door and stab everyone with a COVID vaccine. Oh, it's just your booster shot. There you go. Lee also said that the FDA officials can often be political appointees rather than actual scientific experts. There are political appointees at the FDA that are generally scientific advisors or are appointed by the president or the commission. They're being paid based on if the other people are staying in power, he said. Unfortunately, everyone ends up playing politics, but I don't think that the career scientists are. I think that it's the people that are unfortunately having to report to because these political appointees are being put in a place, and that's like part of like the Senate confirms the people and then to just pick their people. Yada yada yada. Yeah, they're gonna. Well, we know what he wants to do. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I mean it's kind of hilariously racist that he wants to, hide in the bushes and blow dart African American people with the COVID vaccine. I definitely don't agree with that, but I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, so don't hold me to nothing. You have plenty of 30-06 just low on the 308 and not any place that I'd like to have for my 9mm. Yeah, I checked to make sure it's still hitting the way I like it. My wife's 308 is sighted in with the same ammo mine is. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. That's a great way to do it. I haven't really looked into hunting lately. Back when we lived in Ash Fork, I was going to look into getting a license and actually do a little hunting up there, although I was a lot bigger and I just had broken my ankle, so it was something I wasn't going to do for a little while, but something that I was looking forward to doing. Now that things have changed and I live in the city, unfortunately, right now. I mean, eventually we're going to live in a smaller town, hopefully, but hunting is something that I would like to do. That whole self-preservation kind of thing, doing it yourself. But at the same time, like a deer, if I just got one deer, that'd probably be enough meat for us for a year because we don't eat a lot anymore. All right, so the next couple stories are going to be from the Discord. Thank you very much for showing me stories in the Discord, and these are the ones that caught my attention. Man punched a nurse after giving his wife a COVID shot without permission. The police are investigating. Well, I would be pretty upset if you gave me anything in my arm without my permission. Police are investigating a Canadian man who punched a nurse in the face after she allegedly gave his wife the COVID vaccine shot without his permission. Police are searching for the man after he confronted a female nurse, they haven't found him, on Monday morning at a pharmacy in Sherbrooke, Canada, where she was assigned to administer the COVID shot, police spokesman Martine Carrier told Reuters. Carrier told the news outlet, our suspect went directly into the office and began to yell at a nurse that his wife was vaccinated at the pharmacy without his authorization and hit the nurse in the face before fleeing. Carrier said authorities are working to identify the man, but that it was unclear if the man simply opposed vaccinations or if his wife had in fact been inoculated at the same pharmacy. Canada has had its share of anti-vaccine protests as the country approached this week's federal election. Protesters took aim at Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who won re-election and promised to take action against those who oppose the COVID vaccine. Thought he was a conservative too. Quebec Premier François Legault said on Wednesday that he would try to get the legislation passed by Thursday to prohibit anti-vaccine protesters from demonstrating near schools and hospitals or face fines. That sounds like freedom. He said at the time, according to the news outlets, my patience has reached its limit. I think it's important to leave our children and patients in peace. This is not the first time that healthcare workers have become the center of vaccine controversy. A Makati, Philippines healthcare worker in June injected the COVID vaccine into a shot recipient but did not push the dose out, which was all caught on camera. The Philippines Department of Health said it was investigating the incident. Wow. For deer-sized animal in the 308, 150 grain bullet. Yeah, the 150 grain is what they had at the store. They had a whole bunch of 150 grain. I think it was Winchester, to be honest. But they had some nicer ones, too. Because I think it was the Winchester white box, which is basically just target ammo. Hiding in the bushes with a blow dart. Yep. With a 150-pound deer, you end up with about 55 pounds of meat. That would last us a long time. 55 pounds of meat in our house. What do you think, Riddle? At least 6 months. Probably. The government proposes to obtain everyone's bank transactions to make sure that wealthy aren't hiding an income. It's also going to help that you not have a side hustle. We've already talked about this a little bit, but let's dive into it a little bit more. This is the whole, anytime that you deposit or withdraw more than $600, it's going to tick the FBI, just like it does now. Right now, it's $10,000, right? So if I go to my bank and I withdraw $10,000 or I deposit $10,000 or more, it's going to, I'll probably get an interview from the FBI or somebody in an agency. Like, what are you doing with all that money? Right? They want to lower that down to $600. Yeah, more than 6 months worth of food? Yeah, probably. Most people calculate and report how much tax they owe by themselves instead of having the government determine it for them, but some people don't tell the truth. Yeah, surprisingly. Or are unable to calculate their income. As a result, there's a tax gap, which is the difference between what the government should be collecting if everyone was telling the truth and what people actually pay. We can't have anybody, not paying their fair share when we're doing trillion dollar coins. Well, maybe I can give them a $1 trillion coin. I'm sure I can make a $1 trillion coin. According to the Treasury Department, the main reason for the tax gap is because third parties do not report all of a person's income, so they are relying on the honor system, which is not always reliable. They believe that if taxpayers knew what the IRS knows, what they know would more likely file an accurate return and pay their fair share. Bullshit. Everybody's trying to get out of paying taxes. Nobody likes it. A lot of people think it's necessary, but even the people that think it's necessary wouldn't be upset if they saved a few dollars having to pay into the government, especially when Trump was in office. President Biden announced a number of proposals to close the tax gap. One of them would require banks to report every customer's total deposits and withdrawals in their accounts. I got to get out of a bank. At first glance, the proposal seems fair. After all, W-2 employees' income is reported to the IRS. Why shouldn't business owners get a pass? Sure, there are Forms 1099s, which reports non-employee income to the IRS, but not everyone is required to issue a 1099, so the bank information is more likely to show what businesses truly made as opposed to what they reported on their tax returns. Banks are opposed to this measure as it will impose compliance costs and may strain relationships with existing clients who value privacy. Smaller banks and credit unions that do not have the technical expertise nor financial resources to comply may have to close. Banks already have to report certain transactions to the government that generally have to report transactions exceeding $10,000. In addition, they submit suspicious activity reports if they think that one of their customers could be engaging in illegal activity. Most people are not going to like the government peeking around in their bank account, so the Biden administration and the Treasury Department assured the public that they are focusing on high-end evasion. All right, for now. They also state that audit rates will not increase for those who earn less than $400,000. While this sounds reassuring, what they do not say is the bank account sweeps will only target the wealthy. They do state that the annual reporting will not be required for accounts below a low D minimus gross flow threshold of under $600. Yeah. So every time you deposit or withdraw more than $600, well, unless you're working at McDonald's, you're probably depositing more than $600 every time you get a paycheck. Most monthly unemployment payments exceed $600, so it's safe to assume that almost everyone's bank account activities must be reported. You're not exempt just because you have a full-time W-2 employee job. The government will want to know about your side hustle too. Also, the proposal is only interested in the total inflows and outflows from an account and not specific transactions. So don't worry, the government won't know about your OnlyFans page subscription. So will this proposal work? It's possible. There are some dishonest people who will think twice about reporting fake numbers if the IRS can see what's going on in their bank accounts. But on the other hand, not every deposit is taxable income. Some deposits are loans, which have been plentiful recently due to the increase of the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loans and Paycheck Protection Program. Others could be transfers from another account to another. Some of those can be explained, but others may or not. Or the auditor may not believe them, which can result in protracted disputes and paying excessive taxes on non-income. Yeah, screw that. Just another way for them to control us. When they move to cashless society, this will already be in place so they can cut your ass off if you owe money. Yep. And if you owe the IRS money, you got back taxes, well, we'll just take it straight out of your bank account. But Brenda did find the back straps I had hidden in the freezer the other day. Ooh, nice. Making me hungry. Dude, if we start doing hunting, Riddle, we're gonna have to get another deep freezer, probably a bigger one, because the deep freezer we have already is, I think it's only like a 5-quart, maybe 7-quart. But it's kind of small. It's one of their smaller ones. Yeah, that's a lot of meat. 50-something pounds. Holy crap, that's a lot of meat. It'd take us a while to go through that too. All right, guys, that's it for me tonight on here. I got to get off of here, have something to eat, and then we'll be starting up the Patriot Bible Chat once again tonight. We'll be doing part 10? Let me check. Yeah, part 10, Trust Confirmed. So we'll be doing that in a little bit less than an hour. I hope to see you all there. And then we'll be back here again tomorrow night for the Friday evening catch-up. I hope to see you there too. Until don't forget all the links down in the descriptions. If you haven't seen them before, we have all the causes I believe in and support, all the places to follow me, all the ways to donate to the channel if you want to do that. Some affiliate links down there for certain items that I have personally bought and used. So if you're looking for like a headlamp, quick disconnects, there's a few others down there. Go check those out if you haven't yet. Those are kind of cool. Yeah, don't forget to thumbs up the video, subscribe if you're not already, and all that fun stuff. Thank you very much, Bikes and Bullets, for being here. I do appreciate it. Same with Gerald and Broken Patriot, whoever else was here. All right, guys. I hope to see you over at the Patriot Bible Chat in an hour. Until then, make sure you keep that family close. Watch out for that government and try to live as free as you possibly can in the tyrannical world we find ourselves living in. And figure out your side hustle. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if they do that with your bank account? What are you going to do if the monetary system collapses? Start thinking about that shit now. All right, guys. I'll see you in a little bit.